I'm 67 years old, a retired nurse, and for most of my life, I've prided myself on being the kind of mother who never caused trouble. I raised my only daughter, Jessica, on my own after her father passed away when she was 6. I gave her everything: my time, my savings, and my unconditional love. Every 4th of July we had a tradition. I'd bring my homemade ribs and potato salad to her house. We'd sit on the porch, sip lemonade, and watch the kids chase fireflies. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like home. This year I was packing up the food just like always, humming a tune, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jessica. "Mom, about tomorrow, I think it's better if you don't come. Travis's mom will be there and, you understand, right?" I read it 3 times. My hands stopped moving. The potato salad I had just sealed felt suddenly heavy in my arms. Understand? Yes, I understood. I understood that I wasn't chosen. That I was convenient until someone more polished, more presentable showed up. Jessica's mother-in-law, Cheryl, had always looked at me like I was a worn-out relic. I never had the right shoes or the right opinions. Still, I thought I mattered, at least enough for a folding chair in the backyard. But not this year. There was no follow-up call. No "I'm sorry, Mom," just silence. I sat down in my kitchen, surrounded by the food I made with love, and stared at the floor. And in that quiet, something inside me cracked, not in anger, not even in sadness. It was a clean break. That was the moment I stopped being the easy mom. People say motherhood is about sacrifice, but they never tell you what it feels like when your sacrifices become invisible. After that text, I found myself thinking back, not just to the big milestones, graduations, birthdays, holidays, but to all the little ways I'd made myself small to keep the peace. I was the one who stayed quiet when Travis talked over me at dinner. The one who smiled politely when Jessica canceled on me last minute, saying the kids were too tired to visit. The one who sent a birthday card even when mine went unnoticed. There was a time Jessica forgot Mother's Day completely. I waited all day for a call that never came. The next morning I sent her flowers with a note that read, "I know you're busy, but I love you always." That was me. The easy mom, the one who didn't make waves, the one who was always understanding. But I started to realize something. Understanding can become a pressure. When you keep giving without asking for anything in return, people start to believe you need nothing. They assume you're fine with being left out because you never complain. They think it's okay to make you the afterthought because you never ask to be the priority. And worst of all, you start believing it yourself. You start thinking, maybe this is just how it is now. Maybe I'm lucky to be invited at all. That thought stayed with me longer than I'd like to admit. It crept into everything: how I dressed, how I walked, how I spoke. I made myself smaller in every way, just so Jessica wouldn't feel burdened by my presence. Even when I was sick last winter with the flu, I didn't tell her. I didn't want to worry her. I had spent years training myself to be the kind of mother who didn't ask for anything, and in doing so, I had taught my daughter that I didn't need to be considered. That realization didn't come like thunder. It came quietly. Like an old truth I had been ignoring finally sitting down across from me and saying, "You matter too." And for the first time in decades, I actually let that truth in. The 4th of July came and went. I didn't hear a word from Jessica. Not even a picture of the kids, not a thank you, nothing. I sat alone at my kitchen table that night with a plate of ribs and potato salad that no one else would eat. The fireworks outside boomed in the distance, and their bright colors flickered against the window glass. Normally, I would have texted Jessica just to say hope you're having fun, like I always did, but this year, I didn't move. I just sat there, fork in hand, staring out into the dark backyard. Then, my phone buzzed. It was a photo. Jessica had posted a group shot on social media. Her, Travis, the kids, and Cheryl, her mother-in-law, laughing beside the grill. The caption read, "Grateful for family and freedom." I looked at it for a long time, not with tears. I didn't cry. I just felt hollow. And then I stood up, walked over to the trash, and scraped my dinner into the bin. Not out of anger, but because I finally knew. I knew I was done begging for space at a table where I was no longer welcome. I went to my bedroom, changed into my nightgown, and sat on the edge of the bed. The silence felt different that night, not lonely, not cold. It felt clean, quiet, strong. I realized I had spent years hoping Jessica would see me, but it was never my job to wait for someone else to validate my worth. That night, I didn't make a dramatic declaration. No phone calls, no long texts. Just one small, powerful decision. I was done being the backup plan. I was done making myself easier to love. I was done being forgotten and pretending that was okay. I didn't know exactly what would come next, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever I did from that moment forward, it would be for me. The next morning, I woke up with clarity I hadn't felt in years. I made coffee, sat on the back porch with a yellow notepad, and began writing. I didn't know what I was writing at first. I just knew I needed to do something meaningful, something that wasn't just about being someone's mom. It started with a question. What happens to mothers when their children stop seeing them? And then came the idea. A place, a space, a support system for women like me. I called it the Forgotten Mothers Fund. A nonprofit that would help women over 60 who'd been pushed aside by family, by society, by years of giving everything and getting silence in return. I had enough savings to get the legal paperwork started. I called a lawyer I trusted, and I told him, I'm not building this for revenge. I'm building it for recovery. He didn't laugh. He nodded and said, it's about time someone did. At first, I just wanted to host a support group in my living room. I posted an open invite at the local library and the community center. I figured maybe 1 or 2 people would show up. 12 women came to the first meeting. 12. Some had lost touch with their children. Some had been ghosted completely. One woman, Karen, had raised 4 kids who now only called her on her birthday, if she was lucky. Another, Eileen, had been uninvited from her own grandson's wedding because her ex-husband's new wife would be attending. They weren't angry. They were tired of pretending they were okay with being forgotten. I watched as they cried, laughed, held hands, and shared stories they'd buried for years. It was heartbreaking but also beautiful. Because for the first time in a long time, none of us felt invisible. The group became a weekly thing. Then I rented a small space above a florist shop downtown. We got a few donations, a few volunteers. We hosted potlucks, writing workshops, therapy sessions. We even organized a found family brunch, every third Sunday, no kids allowed, just women who chose to show up for each other. One day, a reporter from a local paper showed up. She had heard about our brunches and wanted to write a piece. The article was titled, Not Forgotten, How One Woman Built a Home for Mothers the World Left Behind. That headline hit me right in the chest. I wasn't forgotten. I had simply been looking for validation in the wrong places. And now, I had created a space where women didn't have to prove their worth to anyone. They just had to walk in the door. About 6 weeks after the 4th of July, I got a call. It was Jessica. Her voice sounded shaky. I could hear kids yelling in the background, the faint slam of a door, then silence. Hi, Mom, she said. Do you have a minute? I paused before answering. My heart didn't leap like it used to. It simply waited. Yes, I said calmly. There was a long exhale. Then I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I waited. Travis's mom, she said some really awful things the other night. Things about you. And it hit me, I've been wrong. I've been so wrong. I didn't say anything, I let her speak. I've missed you, Jessica added quietly. The kids miss you too. Can we maybe meet up? Talk? Maybe you could come over? It was the apology I thought I'd always wanted. But sitting there, listening, I realized something unexpected. I no longer needed it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't even waiting for her to make it right anymore. So I said, sure, we can meet. But let's do it somewhere neutral. A cafe, maybe? She agreed immediately. We met 2 days later, at a little diner on Maple Street. I wore my favorite blue cardigan and brought her favorite lemon cookies because old habits don't disappear overnight. Jessica looked tired. Guilty, too. She reached for my hand across the table, and for the first time, I didn't rush to comfort her. Instead, I listened, and when she finished her long, rambling apology, I smiled softly and said, Jessica, I love you. That's never changed. But I'm not the same mom you left out of that party. I've built something since then. Something good. Something that's mine. She looked confused. What do you mean? I told her about the fund, the women, the meetings, the brunches. I told her how I had found purpose not through her validation, but through community, healing, and standing tall again. She blinked back tears. So where does that leave us? I looked her in the eyes and said, it leaves us here, right now. I'm willing to reconnect, but I won't shrink myself to fit into your comfort again. She nodded, slowly. Whether she truly understood or not, I couldn't say. But I had said what I needed to say. And for the first time in years, I left a conversation with my daughter not feeling small but whole. A few months later, I stood in our little meeting space above the florist, sipping tea from a chipped mug with daisies on it. The room was full of women, full of warmth, full of laughter. There was homemade banana bread on the table, someone's grandchild's painting on the wall, and a sense of ease in the air that couldn't be bought. We weren't perfect, we had grief and regrets and hard days, but we weren't alone anymore. A woman named Beth had just moved to town. She was 72 and had been kicked out of her son's home when his new wife decided she was too much trouble. Beth told her story with a trembling voice. I spent my whole life raising him. One argument, and suddenly I'm a burden. I reached over and held her hand. You're not a burden, I told her gently. You're a story still being written. She cried. And then we laughed. Because that's what we do here, we make room for all of it. That day, I realized something powerful. I hadn't just found peace, I'd found purpose. The kind that doesn't depend on being needed. The kind that grows from choosing yourself even after years of being told you shouldn't. Choosing to take up space, to matter, to create joy, not because someone invited you, but because you decided to show up anyway. I still talk to Jessica now and then. We've had lunch a few times, she's trying. But I don't orbit around her anymore. I no longer measure my worth by how often she calls or how many holidays I'm invited to. I measure it by how many women come through that door each week and feel seen. By how many voices get a little stronger, how many hearts feel a little less alone. I don't need to be the easy mom anymore. I just need to be me fully, unapologetically, and completely. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been left out of the photo, the table, the plan, please hear this. You are not forgotten. You don't need anyone's permission to matter. You already do. And maybe, just maybe, your best chapter hasn't even started yet. If this story touched something in you, you're not alone. Maybe you've been the one left off the guest list, the one whose calls go unanswered, the one who smiles through silence just to keep the peace. But you deserve more than crumbs. You deserve to be seen, heard, and valued not for what you give, but simply for who you are. If you've ever felt forgotten, I hope this story reminded you, you are not invisible. Your voice matters, your heart matters. And it's never too late to start choosing yourself. We all carry stories, some heavy, some healing, so if you have one to share, we'd love to hear it. Drop a comment below. You never know who might need your words today. And if you believe in stories that heal, in second chances, and in quiet strength, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to know they matter too. This isn't just a story about Linda Harper. It's a story about all of us. About remembering that sometimes the bravest thing you can do